Hello and welcome to a live deprogram with Keri Smith. I am your host, Keri, and we are back on a regular schedule, trying to get back on this regular schedule. I've been recuperating. This is my last week of bed rest. I put that in quotes because I haven't been doing a lot of the bed rest lately. I will admit I've been up and moving about, and I'm very excited about I don't know, getting back to normal. If you've ever had a surgery, I just heard from a friend who went through her first surgery. Also, it's my thoughts are with you if you're going through your first one, because I did not know what to expect, and it's just been it's been a little bit of a roller coaster. So anyway, I'm looking forward to it getting even better, and things are going great. I have my last post-op appointment coming up soon. So we're back on a regular schedule. Good to see you guys. Good to see you, Rasmix, and some regular faces in the chat. And a couple things. Let me just start off with this announcement. Texas Sheep Lady, what's up? Says, hey, when are we going to have a deprogram meetup other than the knitters? Yeah, we did do a knitting get together a few months ago, back in February. Here's what it's funny you asked that, Texas Sheep Lady, because I've been messaging with Two Sisters and Some Yarn, one of our mods, about dates, because I just had this idea and I was like, here's what I want to do in the spring. I know we'd originally said the fall, but there's a reason why I'm saying the spring now. I want to do it in Texas. I want to do it in Hill Country, and it's not a good time right now because there's so much going on with the rescue efforts, which, by the way, I will plug our friend Jenny McCombs at the Full Moon Inn over in Fredericksburg, Texas. She and her husband Doug are going above and beyond, coordinating, organizing all these finances coming in. They're collecting donations, gift cards for people who lost everything. They're also collecting now cars and RVs for people to live in, people who lost their homes. They've helped to find free housing for over 600 rescue workers in the past few weeks. Like they opened up they basically shut down their whole inn to any paid visitors and customers, and have just opened it up to rescue workers. They've been doing benefit shows. My husband played one of their benefit shows. They've got a whole list of items that they need that they update every few days or so. Here's what we need now, like chainsaws, chainsaw blades, whatever. They put it out. So if you are at all interested, I know she seems a little worried in some of her update videos, because now that the rescue and recovery part is going to start winding down, there's the rebuilding part where they need, in some ways, like the most amount of help. And there's so many people affected, and they're worried that there won't be the same media attention. So people won't be in the news, and people in other parts of the country won't know that there's still all these people in need. So that being said, that's happening, and that's still going on here in Texas. And what I want to do is, I want to see everybody. I want to do a retreat like we did for my old show in Texas, and this time I want to do it in the Hill Country. And she has said they're going to get back up and running, definitely by the new year, maybe before. I think she said maybe before. I want to book some rooms. I want to help Jenny out with booking a big block of rooms at her inn. I think people will love it. First of all, Fredericksburg is this beautiful tourist destination. It's got German roots. There's a lot of pastries and wineries. It's part of wine country in Texas. So if you're into the wineries, pretty much anything you want to do, it's close to Lukenbach. So we could go see Lukenbach from the song, Lukenbach, Texas. My husband's band plays there quite often. Maybe we could coordinate it around one of their shows or something. Fredericksburg's just a beautiful place. Like if you were visiting Texas for any other reason, even not for a deprogram meetup, and you were saying, where should I go? That would be one of the places I would say you should definitely go. So the Full Moon Inn, I'm thinking we should book a block of rooms there, and we should do it in the spring when they're operating again, and bring them a lot of business. Now, on the grounds, here's what makes their place very cool. They have a chapel They built this little chapel. It's one of the most relaxing chapels. I took a little video of it and put it on my Instagram when I was last there. They have this beautiful chapel right on the grounds. They have a bar called the 1776 bar, which is a patriot bar. It's the most based bar you'll ever see. Jenny cooks all the breakfast for guests and stuff. I think they have breakfast in the bar. My husband's played the bar several times. I posted pictures of it. It's hard to explain. It's just the most based bar you'll ever go to. You walk in and you're like, oh, I'm among friends. Like, like nobody woke is coming here. It's totally cool. And the property just beautiful. So I think we should book there because it would be so fun. Some of you might also know Jenny through her other before coordinating all these rescue efforts with the Texas floods. She was in the midst of and is still working on the January 6th Road Home project. And she was one of the people arrested on January 6th. She has been raising funds and building tiny homes and houses for people who were in prison for 4 years, awaiting trial, people who were in jail for 4 years, January 6ers. Some of them lost everything. Some of them lost family. Some of them lost jobs, obviously, income, homes. And so the Road Home project is something that she does. And I think they have some tiny homes there on the property. So if I have not explained it well, I hope you get the picture of just, it's the most, one of the most beautiful parts of Texas, one of the most based, like bed and breakfast and bars that we could ever stay at, with in close proximity to so many cool things we could do. Randy says, I'm in. Start the retreat on a Friday and do a show with the live audience. You know what, Randy? You weren't at, some of the people in the chat were at the last meetup I did, which was so long ago. It was on my old show. And we had a retreat and we did a live audience streaming. It was so fun. So yes, we should do that. We should do a live streaming. I was also thinking, if I start planning now, we start planning now for the spring, we could invite some other guests. And so we could figure out who it is that we would want to have there. And then some of the knitters who come, or some of the crafters or the seamstress, like little ragamuffin, anybody who wants to come who knows a skill and wants to teach a little workshop or something, or if you want to bring goods to sell your crafts or arts or things that you make, or if you want to do a knitting circle or anything, we could plan some of those activities too. So it just sounds so, I just think, I feel like this is what it was meant to be. It's supposed to be in the spring. It's supposed to be in Texas. It feels like it's coming together. So I've been going over some date options to make sure I'm not picking any religious holidays. Apparently there's several different Easters. I don't even know enough about all the different denominations and stuff. Amy's like, oh, you can't do it. We've got to figure this date and this date. So we're going to figure out some dates. I think I'll do a survey like I did a few years ago. We'll do a survey and get some interest level and what dates work for people and what kinds of things you'd be interested in doing. And if we're able to bring in other like speakers or guests, to interact with, like, who would you be interested in having there, things like that. So that's a lot of Easters, says Randy. Yeah. Okay. And Texas Sheep Lady says, well, Texas is at its best in April and May while the bluebonnets are blooming. That's true. If you guys haven't been here, Lady Bird Johnson, one of the things she did was the beautification of Texas. She had them put wildflower seeds along all the highways. And so Texas Sheep Lady's right. April, May is just beautiful. You drive down any highway, you're going to see all kinds of, not just bluebonnet. You're going to see bluebonnets. You're going to see red poppies. If it's May, you're going to see black-eyed Susans and wine cup. There's one called wine cup, Mexican blanket, Mexican hat. That's one of my favorite flowers. Mexican hat, Indian blanket. And there's just so many beautiful ones. I'm sorry. Now I'm thinking of wildflower names. My husband has this joke. Every time I see wildflowers and tell him the names, he mixes all the names together because there's several common ones like Indian blanket, Mexican hat, wine cup. And he's like, are you saying racist things? Like, no, it's just a joke. Yeah, I was waiting for you to say it in the chat. He says, I feel like you're trolling me. Yes, I didn't know if you were listening. I was waiting for you to do your joke. There's my husband in the chat. Yeah, he calls it drunken Mexican in a Jewish wine cup. Oh, look at that flower. In an Indian blanket. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we're just having fun. We're having fun this morning. I say morning. I was up really late working on a writing project, and it still feels like early morning to me, but it's not like early, but it feels, I got up at like 11 and instead of 8 or anything normal. Okay. Just still laughing at my husband. Okay, it's good that we're laughing because what I want to show you is not funny. It's pretty disgusting. Oh wait, there's one last one for my husband. Black-eyed Indian in a blanket with drunken Susan. I don't know. Yeah, he mixes all the wildflower names together into one offensive flower. Like a very offensive flower. We did hear there's a flower called the creeping Jew or the wandering Jew. Have you guys heard of this flower? There's all kinds of like offensive flower names. I'm sure there's one about white people. If you can find me the flower that's named after white people, let me know. Yeah. Yeah, there was a Jew fish. They changed the name. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so what I'm gonna show you today is not funny. So it's good we're laughing up top with some little discussion about a meetup. So this is just one of the most egregious clips I've seen going around, and I, let me preface it with this. There is something brewing. There's something brewing. If you're new here and you're like, what is she talking about? There's an ideology that's brewing. It reminds me very much of when woke left, what we now know of as woke left. But back then, we didn't know it as that. We called it social justice ideology. There were lots of names for it, right? A lot of people who were in it thought it was just liberalism, or they called it progressivism, but it's what we now know of as this distinct ideology that we call woke left, right? Woke social justice. It reminds me, what's happening right now reminds me of when that ideology was brewing, when it was percolating, when it wasn't yet omnipresent, when most people were not aware of what was happening. In all the interviews I've done since leaving woke ideology, since leaving the woke cult, sometimes I ask people who've left it or who woke up to it. I like to ask them, in some of my old interviews especially, you'll see I would ask them when they first became aware of woke, like what was their first interaction where they realized something was going on. Because I always like to get that timeline from people. And for some people, it was like much later than for others. Like some of us, I started realizing there was something bad brewing, something bad going on in 2016, 2017. That's when I started questioning this ideology I had been in for 20 years. There were other people who had waking up moments way before that, or who were never in it and were just watching it grow, right? And probably being very alarmed at what was happening. There were other people who woke up much later. They didn't wake up till the COVID years, or maybe they woke up during the BLM riots, the mostly peaceful riots, or, so there were people. And even now I talk to people who are waking up out of it in 2025. Okay. So, but I usually like asking people, when did you first realize there was something bad brewing? Like almost like a zombie movie. I love zombie movies. I love the beginning of a zombie movie or book where people are just starting to realize that something big has changed. Like they're in a different reality. That reality, the very world they live in, the reality they live in has changed. The rules are going to be very different now for survival or what have you. Like something has infected everyone. They have to make sure they don't catch it, right? There's a lot of analogy here to woke ideology being a virus that destroys people. And so it's interesting to find out when people first realized there was this woke mind virus, like what it was when they interacted with it, right? Okay, I say all that because there's a mutation brewing. And it reminds me very much of those days in 13, 14, 15. It reminds me very much of the early days of woke ideology when it was starting to escape the lab, if you will, to leave the university and to infect all of society. Okay. And this thing that's brewing now, we're still a ways away from that. But it is starting to leave some of the underground, dark web kind of places where it was percolating for a while to a small minority of people. And it's starting to escape the lab. And how do I know? Because young people are starting to regurgitate it. They're starting to receive these opinions that are part of this new and growing ideology, and they're starting to repeat them and speak them like the woke left young people did. They don't even know what they're saying. They're just repeating it. Now, when I saw young people in the woke left doing it, it was all, you guys, you know, some of the cult language now, you're familiar with it. It was all like white privilege, systemic oppression, you know, cis normative, cis heteropatriarchy. Like it was, they had like a whole language of things they would say. They would say prejudice equals, or racism equals prejudice plus power. Like they have all their phrases. I used to say those things when I was in it. But, you know, like you could recognize young people just regurgitating all that crap. Toxic masculinity, right? Okay, now these young people are starting to regurgitate some of the stuff from this new mutation of the ideology. And this ideology, for better or for worse, a lot of people are calling it woke right. As I say in every video where I address it, I still get people in the comments getting angry at me. Look, if there's a better phrase that crops up, I will use that phrase. But this is the best one that I've heard so far, that the most people have heard. So that's the phrase I'm going to use for now. I didn't used to like it either. I still have issues with it, but that's the one people know. And no, I can't just use white nationalist or anti-Semite, because it's bigger than that. Just like woke left was bigger than just the CRT, the critical race theory people. It was bigger than just the BLM people. It was a whole ideology built around identity groups and switching the power balance between what they called the oppressed groups and the oppressor groups. It looked at the whole world through like these competitive identity groups competing for power. And so there were, yes, in woke left, there were the people obsessed with race, but there were also the people obsessed with sex and gender. There were the feminists, right? And they were like, men are the oppressors and we're the oppressed. And then there were the trans who came in and said, no, we're the oppressed, and cis people are the oppressor, right? There were all different, even fat became an identity group where it was like fat people are oppressed. And it just kept growing. Then there was like mental health justice. They said people who have personality disorders are oppressed. Like it just kept growing. Well, there's something similar over here, and that's why I think woke right fits better, because it's more of an umbrella term. It's not just the anti-Semites. It's not just the white nationalists or the white supremacists or whatever. It's not just the race obsessed people. It's also the sex and gender obsessed people, just like on the woke left. There's the male version of the feminists. There's these incel Andrew Tate worshiping guys, you know, that kind of, you know, women are the root of all evil, everything's women's fault, men are oppressed. It's a mirror image of the feminists who were like, men are the root of all evil, women are oppressed. Like, so there's different groups, right? So that's why I use it. Now that's my caveat of that phrase and what it means when I use it. Okay. This ideology, whether you like that phrase or not, or you hate it, it's okay if you hate that phrase. This ideology is growing online and it's starting to escape the lab a little bit. I know some people in real life who are speaking some of this stuff. I know some of you have told me, you know, people who are speaking some of this stuff. Some of you have told me you have friends who've started going to a church that is speaking some of this stuff, which is a true abomination, a church doing it. Let me share this with you. Share screen. Here we go. This is a clip that's going around from a popular podcast called Fresh and Fit. Now, I don't watch this crap. It's a very popular YouTube channel, podcast, what have you. It's hosted by one of the hosts is named Myron Gaines, and I forget, one of them is Fit. I think he's Fit, and the other one's Fresh. I don't know. They go by Fresh and Fit, but his name is Myron Gaines, and it's in the Andrew Tate wheelhouse. It's in that sort of it's in the sex and gender part of woke right. However, just like woke left, once you came in, let's say you came in through the race door, it didn't matter. Now you're in the tent. Now they're going to introduce you to all the other identity groups and all of their grievances, right? Well, the same thing happens with woke right. These guys come in the sex and gender door, and now they're being introduced to the Hitler stuff and the grievances against Jews, right? The white nationalist stuff. So much so that you're getting Black people who are now praising Hitler. just it's just all of this is kind of, that anybody would praise him is crazy to me. But then also you've got young people who are just like, I don't know what's going on here. Let's just watch this clip. Oh man.
What do you guys think about Hitler?
What if the Jewish did something to the Germans that made them act a certain way, but nobody wants to talk about it? Like the Jews don't want to take accountability.
They don't.
Yes.
I'm with you on that one.
Okay.
That's why like there was up to something, so the Germans wanted to take them out.
Like payback.
It had to be something. Like Germans wanted to take them out, all of them out.
They damn near wiped everybody off the map.
They started it.
It's like it's somebody
Damn, he
that
cheated hard. Like, yeah, talk shit about them.
The Holocaust was the only way he can take out a huge population, like a huge amount of Jews all in one setting. But I already know what's going on. Like, I'm not dumb. Like, I know, like, the Jews did something. That's why they sent up here. They're trying to take back, like, they're trying to take back and get repercussions, especially from America, like, from Americans. So they're taking over the government and stuff like that.
I'm telling you, how do we take them down?
How do we take them down?
Yeah.
I mean,
gotta kill the motherfuckers.
I hate to say it.
My bad, y'all. My bad.
Hitler, he had the plan, but his plan was just too, like, very, like, gruesome, if we can say it.
Listen,
he said,
he had to do what he had to do.
But he had to do it.
He was like,
Listen, he was trying to save the world.
I agree.
It didn't work out. He just didn't.
I mean, Jews are the reason why the healthcare system and everything around us in the government is collapsing, because they're sitting up here stealing away from the American people.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there. I'm gonna probably show a couple. Yeah. Yes, Dion, this is so sad. This is so sad. I'm probably going to show a couple of clips and just comment. I want to show you the whole thing, then I'm going to play it one more time and just pause it. Couple things. Do you notice how, yes, it's immediately obvious these people are dumb. The IQ in that room collectively, if you add it together, is probably not average. That's a little bit of a joke, but seriously, these people are not just mid IQ, they're below average IQ. Just based on the way they're talking. She says something at one point about how the Jews are trying to get repercussions from America. And I think she means reparations. Like, there's just sort of a lack of understanding of even the words that they're trying to use. So they're not intelligent. I get that. And I say that because I've seen some people online saying, don't worry about what these young people are saying. They're dumb. They're foolish. They're not intelligent. They're not, well, okay. I give you that. I agree. The point is, so were the woke left kids. Like, a lot of the woke left kids. I'm not talking about the architects of the ideology or the ones at university who were crafting all the different words, the lexicon, the dictionary of words, who were trying to make it make sense, who were intellectualizing. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about on the ground, on the street. Once it trickled down from academia into K through 12 education, once it hit the internet, once it was at like street level woke, you got people like this, idiots like this, just repeating it. And they sounded just as dumb, talking about white supremacy and white privilege and male privilege and heteropatriarchy. And they did, just saying stuff. And that's what she's saying. She's just saying stuff that she's heard. This girl has not read any history. She doesn't even know what some of the words are that she's trying to say. She's getting the words wrong. Yes, while sitting there very confident and saying how smart she is, just like the woke left. Robert Lowry, give it up for one of our mods, says, at least they're not denying the Holocaust. I guess that's something, right? In this case, I've seen, a lot of them are denying it happened. In this case, she's saying, yeah, it happened and it needs to happen again, basically. I'm going to pause it and just address some of this as we go through. Now, this is concerning to me because every time I try and show illustrations, give illustrations, of why I think this ideology is growing or concerning or why we should be concerned, I just always hear from people, don't worry about, like, sort of the people I hear from, it seems to me like they're all saying, they want me to stick my head in the sand. They want me just to ignore it. And no, that's what happened with woke left. How do you think it got to be so big and powerful? People just ignored it. They didn't talk about it. They didn't stamp it out. The left, the liberals were totally cannibalized by the leftists until all of the left became illiberal. They did not gatekeep. They did not have sheepdogs to keep out the predators, the con men. They platformed them and made them famous. They made people, and the left made people like Robin DiAngelo and Ibram X. Kendi famous. They worshipped them. And all of those ideas that those kind of people were pushing and pimping trickled down to street level where you got kids just repeating all this white fragility crap. And so this clip that I showed you, to me, this seems like, okay, we're at the level where it's street level, right? There's enough influential podcasters on the right who claim to be on the right, whether you want to argue if they are or not, they claim to be on the right. That's where they're positioned. That's how they position themselves. They say they're on the right. That's how their audiences identify as being on the right. I'm talking about people like Candace Owens, Elijah Schaffer, Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, this Myron Gaines guy, the Hodge twins, Benny Johnson. I'm talking about these kind of characters. They claim to be on the right. And it is becoming popular enough. And a lot of these podcasts are even bigger podcasts who are more based in reality, I would say, who are not explicitly woke right, have platformed crazy woke right people. Look at Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan platforming this Martyr Maid, Daryl Cooper. I've listened to some of his podcasts. Tucker Carlson's also put on Andrew Isker. He's also put on, avowed white nationalists who are creating like a white nationalist homeland in Tennessee. All of this has trickled down to street level. All of this, like, maybe, Daryl Cooper famously said, maybe Churchill's the real villain of World War II. I listened to that guy. I couldn't understand what the fuss was about at first. And I was listening to his podcast and I was like, this is really interesting. Then I started reading some of what he writes. I started reading some of his explicitly pro-Hitler, pro-Nazi crap on X. And I've seen enough. I can see what he is, plainly. You need to go and look up all this stuff too if you don't know what you think about it. And I mean, you don't have to. If you don't have to care about any of this. But if you care about it, and if you're going to leave comments for me, and if you're going to argue with me, go and look it up yourself. I had somebody on Facebook asking me about Candace Owens. Couldn't you give me, explain to me what it is you think she's saying? I was like, I've already done that so many times. Why do I have to keep doing it? And in the post you're commenting on, I gave you a link to Milk Bar TV, Nathan Livingston. There are channels that spend all of their time doing that. Milk Bar TV has put out an amazing video after video after video compilation of some of these woke right figures. You go, that's what he does. Go to his channel, subscribe. Go do your own research. Figure out what you think about it. But this, to me, yeah, it's starting to reach street level. You've got idiots now repeating it. You've got absolute idiots now repeating the ideas of people like the influencers like Jake Shields, Kanye West, Nick Fuentes, like Elijah Schaffer. It's trickled down to where you've got this moron here in pink saying this crap, and the girl in the blonde wig saying "kill all the Jews." Let's watch this one more time.
What do you guys think about Hitler?
What if the Jewish did something to the Germans that made them act a certain way, but nobody wants to talk about it? Like the Jews don't want to take accountability.
They don't. That's
yes.
I'm with you on that one.
Okay.
That's why like there was up to something, so the Germans wanted to take them out.
Okay, so this is really crazy. It's their fault. It's their fault. They were doing something. It's not. It's the genocide of Jewish people wasn't evil. What they were doing was evil. That's why the Holocaust happened. That's insane. As Therese points out, like I'm sure she would hate somebody doing the same thing to a group that she's in, to an identity group that she's in, right? Like Therese, oh wow, what did the blacks do to get taken into slavery? And trust me, there are woke white people who are not black who would go right along and condemn that girl who just said that too and say, yeah, the blacks did it to themselves. Like they would say that. Pure gaslighting, says Davina. Yeah. Okay, let's continue.
They damn near wiped everybody off the
Now, while she's saying this about like they must have been doing something, this is why this happened. Look at him on the left. Look at that demonic smile and laugh. This guy is just thrilled. He's tickled. He's filled with glee at this kind of evil. This is what animates him. This is what his darkened soul thrives on. He's so excited that she's saying this. Somebody in the chat said, yeah, Razmik says that guy knows this is going to boost his engagement. That's why he's got that poop-eaten grin. Yes, that's part of it. All he cares about is clicks, money, fame, right? That kind of, what animates these kind of people. The dark kind of soul that would laugh at this and take glee in this. But it's not just that. I don't think it's just that he knows this is going to go viral. I think that if you stay in evil long enough, if you stay in darkness long enough, your affection becomes perverted. It becomes inverted. And you do start taking pleasure in evil things. Think about the most evil person in your mind. Just take a second and think about the most evil person you can imagine. Now, for some of you, it might be a serial killer. It might be Jeffrey Epstein. It might be whoever's the most evil person you can imagine. It might be a YouTuber. Sorry, I just thought of someone. Yes, it could be. The most evil person you can imagine. And think about how they got there. And I think it's just that over time, the more a human soul chooses evil, because we have a myriad of choices per day between good and evil. And even when you're a Christian, you can stumble, you can choose evil, you can sin. You can sin. And if you don't repent of it and you don't acknowledge it and you don't turn away from it, you can keep sinning. You can make more evil choices and more evil choices until you're so far in the darkness, your soul can become perverted and inverted, where you start to take pleasure in evil things, in bad, instead of in good. You start to take pleasure in just vile stuff. Like this guy is happy. Look at him. I think he takes pleasure in the stuff she's saying. It's not just about getting clicks. I think he really genuinely is gleeful about the evil crap that is being spewed on his show right now. And look at these idiot girls just... Okay.
Like payback.
It had to be something like Germans wanted to take them out, all of them out.
They damn near
Myron
wiped
Gaines
everybody
now.
off the map.
They started it.
It's like it's
somebody
damn,
that
he's
mad.
Here
choosing
we
hard.
go.
Like, yeah, talk shit about them.
Yeah,
Eat them up.
The Holocaust was the only way he can take out a huge population, like a huge amount of Jews all in one setting. But I already know what's going on. Like, I'm not dumb. Like, I know, like, the Jews did something. That's why they sent up here. They're trying to take back, like, they're trying to take back and get repercussions, especially from America, like from Americans. So they're taking over the government and stuff like that.
I'm telling you, how do we take them down?
How do we take them down?
Yeah.
I mean,
gotta kill the motherfuckers.
That's the one in the blonde wig right there. How do we take them down? The Jews, right? She says, kill, I hate to say this, kill the MFers. I mean, and he laughs. He laughs at it. Like, this is funny. Again, Dion, Queen of the Quotes is here. She's got a great Victor Hugo quote. The malicious have a dark happiness. Yes, that's what you nailed it with that quote. That's what I was trying to say. SW, please stop moralizing. No, I won't. Not at all. If you don't like it, you can leave. I mean, that's something I'm interested in, clearly. Maybe you're new and to the channel and don't realize that, but I am interested in good, evil, objective morality, objective truth. I think society needs more of it. I think we need to make moral judgments great again. I've said that before. So thank you, Dion. Not moralizing. It was what got us into this mess. Thank you. Let me put this back up.
I hate to say it.
My bad, y'all.
My bad. Hitler, he had the plan, but his plan was just too, like, very, like, gruesome, if we can say it.
Listen,
He said,
he has to do what he has to do.
But he had
You see the host there on the right, the other host, not Myron, but the other guy says he had to do what he had to do. Again, this is just absolute pure filth being spread. And the host Myron on the left there laughing. They love it. They love that this is being said.
He was like,
Listen, he was trying to save the world.
I
It didn't
agree.
work out.
He's trying to save the world, he says about Hitler. This, again, this is where it trickles down from, okay, you've got Daryl Cooper, this Hitler apologist who has now, he's been on Rogan. He's going back on Tucker. I think he was just on Tucker a second time. When he was on Rogan afterwards, Rogan and other guests of Rogan's were saying, oh, he's not a historian. He's not a historian. Okay, but then Tucker has now twice called him. Tucker called him America's most important historian. That's what he called him the first time he was on Tucker show. Second time he was on, Tucker called him America's most honest historian. And so just like in the woke left, I would say he's one of these versions of like the wannabe academic who's spinning the lore. He's creating the narrative. It's not coming from these girls sitting on this Fresh and Fit panel, that's for sure. He's coming up with the narrative. Hitler had to do what he had to do. He was trying to do good things. He was trying to save the world. That's his narrative. That's what he's spinning. It trickles down to people like this. We're at that level where you've now got idiots on idiotic podcasts speaking it because they've heard it so many times now. That's why it's concerning. That's why it's concerning. So, yeah, something's brewing. This is all I'm trying to say is be awake, open your eyes. What's it say in the Bible? Give people eyes to see, ears to hear. And you know what? If we don't want this to become a huge problem that we have to, I don't want to keep talking about it, then let's stamp it in the bud. Let's prune it. Let's get rid of this crap. Let's explicitly say this is not conservative. This is not Christian. This is craziness. It's not based because it's not based in reality, and we're not going to entertain this. I was really disappointed to see a lot of people were warning me about Tucker. I took my time to watch the first Daryl Cooper interview because I was just like, I don't want this to be true about Tucker. I really liked him. No, something's wrong. Something is up with that dude and what he's pushing and promoting lately. Something's wrong. And so if we don't notice that, open our eyes and see it and say something about it, it's going to keep growing until it's at a point where all these grifting influencer people are going to be like, oh my goodness, where did this come from? Now, then they'll turn and suddenly be against it. Then they'll suddenly be anti-woke right and be, you know, once it becomes safe to say that you are, to talk about it and make money doing it. Oh my gosh. Then there'll be a ton of people. It'll be just like it was about criticizing the woke. It'll be, you know, at first it's going to cost you stuff. I keep seeing people call James Lindsay a grifter for talking about it. Idiots calling him a grifter. I'm like, do you not understand what grifting means? He's lost money. He's lost opportunities. He's lost tons of followers. He's lost friendships. He's lost jobs, gigs, all kinds of stuff. You think you think this has been good for him personally in any way? No. That's what it was like at the beginning for those of us who were talking about woke left in 2016, 2017. That's what it was like. We lost friendships. I lost my career. Like, you lost things. You were blackballed. It wasn't until several years later that it became like, oh, all of a sudden there's tons of people. I mean, I'm glad, don't get me wrong. I am so glad people were waking up to woke left and are criticizing it. I'm just saying, at some point, those of you who woke up late, maybe you don't realize at the beginning, it wasn't some like career path. I didn't start doing a podcast as a career path or like, I'm going to make a killing doing this. No, it was, I left my career. I left my career and I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to work gig jobs, but at least I can say what I want now. I'm just going to say what I want, right? I'm going to try and help other people leave the woke left. That's how it started in 2017. And that's what it's like right now. Talking about woke right, it doesn't win you anything. Doesn't win you any favors. James Lindsay's not making money doing it. He's certainly not making friendships or building followers or anything doing it. But mark my words, if we don't nip this in the bud now, in 2 or 3 years, when this is a bigger problem and there's more people willing to speak about it, and then suddenly you can make a living positioning yourself against it or whatever, there'll be a ton more people speaking about it then. I don't even want to get to that place. I would just like for us to nip it in the bud now. Can we just all say this sucks? You're going to have to unfollow probably some of your faves. I did. I had to accept it. I mean, you do what you want. You don't have to. I'm just saying, yes, it sucks. It's disappointing. There are some that, like a Tucker Carlson, I've been more disappointed with than some of the others. Some of the others, I was like, oh, that makes sense that person is filthy. I got a red flag on some people, right? But on him, I didn't. So that was really sad. But yeah, I can't truck with that crap. We have to stop. We can't let it has the same end goals as the woke left. Do you understand? It's like a lot of these people now are admitting they're anti-Constitution. They want to rip up the Constitution. Here's one. Let's look at the oh my goodness. There was another big one. That's how many of these there are lately that I just was thinking about that one. So some of you saw last week, there was another big one, and it was a guy that was on Jubilee. Now, you know, I've been on that show before. I was on it back when they would have, I don't know if they still do the kind of shows they did when I was on there, but they would have like half of the room. The one I was on was like half of us were former leftists and half were former conservatives or something. And so then you would have a conversation. And now they're doing it differently, where they have like one person against 50 people or something. And so anyway, these have become it's become a very popular format. And so there was this guy on recently who was supposed to be representing, I think, conservatives. And all of a sudden in the video, he starts spewing all this stuff that I think it's more accurately referred to as woke right. And here, if you haven't seen it, I think I've almost got this one pulled up. Sorry, I didn't have it queued up because I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this. I didn't think about it. Oh man, I can show you this too. Sorry for this is bad YouTubing, not having this ready to go. Oh no. I don't have the co-host anymore to help. Okay, we'll find it in a second. Somebody, you know what? Somebody send me the link to that Jubilee guy, please, if you can. I'll read some super chats and then hopefully it'll come in. Okay, John Thomas for $10. Thank you, John. Says, have you seen the new NEA handbook for teachers about the Holocaust? Removes any reference to Jews, merely that the victims were killed for religious, political, and ethnic reasons. What? No, I have not seen this. Is this real? Are you sure? NEA handbook? Okay, I'm writing this down. No, thank you for letting me know about that. It's very woke, isn't it? That's why they're calling it woke, right? It's very woke in trying to erase certain things. ADL 1992 for 49 says good people are hard to find if they exist. It sounds like the Flannery O'Connor book. What is it? Good man is hard to find. They do exist, by the way, ADL. I know several good men. If you don't know any good men, go to a church. That's where, find a good church. That's where you're going to start to visit several different kinds of churches. You're going to find some good men there. I promise you. ADL 1992 for 499 says, I feel like Tucker's always been a self-promoting hypocrite. Even when I agree with him, he can be hard to listen to. You know, when I was in the woke left, I hated him without really knowing much about him. And then I felt like an idiot because I started listening to him once I left the woke left. And I agreed with a lot of what he was saying. I thought he was pretty funny at times. And now I don't know if something changed with him. I think something changed. He seems, well, first of all, his laugh has gotten weirder. It doesn't seem entirely joyful. It seems kind of maniacal. Does that make sense? It doesn't seem entirely like fun and mischievous. It seems more like a dark laugh. And he also looks, one of my friends pointed out that in a lot of his latest videos where he's been promoting all these woke right characters, he just looks like sweaty and red, and his face is like really red. I don't know what's happening with him. Good grief for $1.99 says SW and T-Swan are spreading anti-Semitism here. Oh, yes. T-Swan is someone who has been in the chat before and flirts with the woke right stuff. I've seen it. I didn't see his post today, but he's definitely flirted with woke right stuff in the past. And generally, I haven't, you know, I also allow woke left people to come in and flirt with that stuff. And so I walk a fine line. I've got several mods in here. If they're trolling, if they're spamming, like they're just spamming the same thing over and over, we usually give somebody the boot. If they're being abusive, like they're just calling people names and telling people to go F themselves or whatever, like if they're being rude, like if you invited them over and they were acting a certain way in your house and you're like, oh, that's just rude, I would kick them out. But if they're in a civil way saying very evil ideas and ideology, I usually let them stay, because my hope is that the longer they stay here, it's going to help them come out of it. And I have had T-Swan, I'm telling you, I'm just laying all my cards on the table. I'm not keeping it a secret. I want to help pull you away from that crap. And I have had many people who started out watching the show from the woke left and eventually came out of it and now are more based than I am. So I will let you know, I think my track record is pretty good, but if you get abusive or you say like hateful crap, you know, you can say ideas that I think are thoroughly evil, but if you're saying abusive stuff to people, let me know. I trust the mods to take a look at it and take care of it. Randy Wellen for $10. Thank you, Randy. Says, since the 60s, there's been acceptance of communism and outright praise for the USSR from the left. The fake anti-Russia sentiments today reek of totalitarianism, as does everything on the left today. I agree. He also says, Randy, thank you again for another super chat for $10. Says the midterms will not be won by woke right. Historically, best chance is that it will be the totalitarian left. Yes, much more useful to continue to expose the old cult you came from. It's the present bad. No. Okay, I agree with the first part. And the second part, I disagree. It's useful to do both. You know why? Because they work hand in hand, Randy. I have to do both at the same time. This woke right crap is serving as the right hand of woke left. It is helping them. I agree with you. I think it's historically what we're going to see is like, so we had this big cultural win against woke left, and it had some political consequences. We got to see some really cool political consequences of this cultural shift against woke left. One of those was Trump being elected, right? One of those was people not being held captive by a lot of the woke left's magic words that they use incorrectly, where they incorrectly call you a racist or Nazi or whatever. The way they incorrectly use words and call you a sexist and all that stuff, it's losing its power over time. We got to see a lot of these cultural wins. And now it's like the woke right is rearing its head, perfectly timed with those cultural wins, to try and push people back towards the woke left. That's what I think. That's the way I think is going to be useful. I have friends who are just now in the past year or two getting on the fence, like who used to be thoroughly woke left, who are now on the fence after all these years of talking to them, who are just now starting to see some of the excesses of the woke left, who I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe this person's going to have their waking up moment and leave the cult, right? And then what do they see? All these people who are very popular right-wing podcasters and influencers, supposedly right-wing, right? Like Candace Owens. And they're saying insane stuff, and they're like, oh, well, I definitely don't want to be, I don't want to go over to that. I guess it is what I thought it was. I guess conservatism is what I thought it was. I guess it is a bunch of crazy Hitler praising nonsense like that. That's why it has to be called out. It needs to be cut out like a cancer. How are we supposed to bring people over to the reasonable, reality-based, broad coalition that we're in when we've got this growing cancerous, part over here that a lot of people don't want to denounce? So I have to talk about both. I'm explaining my reasoning. I have to. That part has to go. It needs to be, and not by force. People always want to misunderstand your words. No. I'm talking about people speaking against it, like the way that the liberals didn't about their crazies. It needs to be gatekeeped. ADL 1992 for $4.99. Thank you. Says, do you have any thoughts on the recent South Park controversy? No. I haven't had time. I just saw a little clip of it. In general, I saw something Gary from Nerdrotic posted about it. Like, come on, South Park they've always taken shots at everyone. Like, is it really just, are people just upset about them taking a shot at Trump? Is that what it is? I have to see the whole thing to have thoughts. But if it's just that they're taking a shot at Trump, so what? They should. If I'm not happy with everything he's done. I'm happy with most of it. I'm really not happy with what he said about Epstein. So if they're taking shots about that, it's humor. John Thomas for $2. Tucker's voice has always been annoyingly shrill. Has it? Is it more shrill? Does he have a more effeminate voice than me? I don't know. Okay. I'm going to try and let me check and see if anybody sent me this video from Jubilee. I'm just going to do a search for it. Now, this guy that I was telling you about that I want to show you on this Jubilee video, he ended up getting fired. And then he started a GoFundMe. They started a GoFundMe to raise money for him. And this is one of the ones that I just think is another absurd GoFundMe, because this guy is on there talking about how he's a fascist. He's not a conservative. He didn't vote for Trump. He doesn't support Trump. And last I saw, I think he had raised $30,000. for pushing fascism. Like he's on there saying, you know, he wants to use power to silence the people who disagree with him. He's just like the woke left. He's basically like, let's take a page from the woke left. Let's do what they did. Let's be authoritarians. Let's be tyrants, that kind of thing. Okay. Well, we may not get to watch it today. I may save it for another episode because I had forgotten about this guy and didn't have it prepared. So I don't have a link to it. Yep. He says he's a Catholic fascist. That's what this guy said. And that he's not even a Republican, and that his boss saw the interview and fired him. Well, you know, freedom of association. He says, I'm a fascist. Freedom of association. At some point, as far as I know, I didn't see any groups of people trying to get him fired. I didn't see any doxing. Maybe that happened. I didn't see anything like that. I didn't see anybody trying to find him or get him fired. It's just that his video went viral. And I think his boss saw it and was like, well, hey, I don't want to be associated with you. And so he's raised $30,000. Okay, let's watch this short clip of it, and then I'll see if I can find the longer one while this one at least is playing. Now, this is a short clip where he says the reason he went on Jubilee is to spread fascist ideology. And again, he is there on an episode where he's supposed to be a conservative. So it's like, what are you even doing here? And the other crazy thing is, if you listen to the other so-called conservatives, these are people who are marketing themselves as right-wing, but they're not. They're not conservatives. If you listen in the room, you'll hear them clapping for him. Like there's approval from the others in the room.
Quite frankly, like
I'm offended by people who can't condemn the Nazis. Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, I condemn the evils that they did, but I don't really care about being. Yeah, sure. I don't care about being called a Nazi is the whole thing.
I never called you a Nazi.
I care about
called
doing
yourself
the right
a Nazi,
thing.
a fascist, and a General Franco supporter.
Well, yeah, I am a General Franco supporter. He was awesome. He was so super cool, quite frankly. Because the whole
thing. And you don't believe in democracy.
I don't believe in democracy.
What are you doing here at a televised debate?
Because,
this is democracy, not what a debate and disagreement.
Because it is the means to support an end. The reason we have free speech now is because we want to be openly talking about our opinions so we can get the state that we want. But it doesn't mean upholding free speech after we win. Again, I mentioned
the only good thing about this fascist moment we're in is that you guys are so open about it.
The whole reason I mentioned
the
reason I mentioned Carl Schmitt earlier, and you kind of blew past him, is the friend-enemy distinction. Even liberals, when they take power, they want to enact policies and they want to enact protections for their people and their ideas, and they're willing to punish their enemy. And so I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, if you're going to punish me, I'm going to get in power, and I'm going to frankly punish you when you try to leverage power against me. Just that simple.
I'm not sure what is that.
It's like two people, a woke lefty and a woke righty, looking at each other like, not sure what to say here. We are the same. Because that guy would do the same. He would use the power in the same way. Now, before the woke righties in the chat get, I know you're going to defend this. I don't defend this at all. And I will moralize about it. You do not become the monster you're fighting. How do you have any leg to stand on to say that authoritarianism is wrong when you yourself are an authoritarian? There's no leg to stand on. How do you have any leg to stand on to say some of the ones who try and pretend that they're Christians and LARP as Christians on X, but they're pushing Machiavellianism. They're saying Christians need to be more Machiavellian. C.J. Ingle saying that. C.J. Ingle, who is the partner of Andrew Isker, who's the white nationalist who went on Tucker Carlson. They're the two that are trying to start this white nationalist city in Tennessee. He goes on X. They both LARP as Christians. They have a church. He goes on there and he says Christians need to be more Machiavellian. They need to be more manipulative and dishonest. He says things. He sounds just like a leftist. He's like, we need to get power at all costs. That's not Christianity. That's the opposite of Christianity. Power at all costs. at all costs, willing to do anything. That's you at that point, what moral distinction is there between you and a leftist? Helena Black, it looks like a moron could convention. Let me see. John, when you excuse evil, you're becoming evil yourself. Yes. I think some of that too. What criteria makes it not Christian? Well, it's the exact antithesis of scripture. Just like social justice is the exact antithesis of scripture. You tell people, Jesus wasn't out on the Sermon on the Mount saying, get power at all costs, no matter the cost to your soul. It doesn't matter what you do. Power is the most important thing. Get the power. Lie, cheat, steal, become dishonest, kill people, murder, rape, oppress for power. That's not Christianity. Does that really need to be spelled out? Power at all costs is not Christianity. Machiavellianism is not Christianity. Deception. That's what Machiavellianism is. It's deception and dishonesty and manipulation. That's what CJ Engel in his tweets was spelling out. He was saying, we need to be deceptive and hide and lie about our intentions. That's not Christianity. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry. I'm not mad at you, Master Shake. I am shocked that would even need to be explained. It would only need to be explained to a non-believer, right? How is that possible that someone who believes in Jesus Christ and has read the words of Jesus Christ is like, yeah, power by all means necessary sounds pretty cool. Sounds like Christianity to me. No, it's just as much the antithesis of the gospel as is social justice woke ideology. It is like preaching not just a different faith, but a faith that goes in entirely the other direction of Christ. Rape and murder? Yes! What do you think by any means necessary means? Duh! What do you think it means? Do words not mean things anymore? Power by any means necessary? At all costs? Nothing's off the table, right? It's the ultimate thing you worship. By the way, it's at the top. It's what woke leftists worship too. It is the center of their religion, power. That's why their definitions involve power. That's why they say racism equals prejudice plus power. Sexism equals prejudice plus power. That's why when a woke person dies, they don't say rest in peace. They say rest in power. They worship power. Power is at the center of their faith. And these woke right guys are the same. They're like, power at all costs. It's at the center. We want power. Randy Wallen for $5. I got to calm down. Again, I'm not mad at you, Master Shake. I'm mad at I get a little fired up about this, that this is a debate that's happening. It has nothing to do with you personally. Don't take my tone the wrong way. Randy Wallen for $5 says, please consider that most of these examples are paid shills made to make the right look bad. Remember the Snap Sugar Country. Oh, some of them are for sure. But you think that guy is? You think that Connor guy is who lost his job? No, I don't think he is. I know people, like I said, in real life who are going to some of these churches. I know people who've left Joel Webbin's church who talk about the crap that he was spewing there. This is happening in real life. There are real people falling for this. The paid shills, I agree with Randy, with you on this. There's paid shills, there's paid operatives, there's influencers with big platforms. Yes, that's what you're talking about, the influencers. Some of them are getting paid to say this crap. Some of them are just saying it because the algorithm pays. It gives them views and clicks and money. They don't have a conscience and they don't care about what's right and wrong. And so they'll shill anything. Like people are telling me, oh, I don't think Candace Owens is anti-Semitic. I'm like, yeah, I don't either. I think she's a sociopath. They'll say anything for money and clicks, including anti-Semitic crap. Like, so some of them are paid indirectly because it's popular to say this crap right now. And then on top of that, there's bots. There's tons of them are bot farms. Absolutely. There's foreign countries operating some of these bots who are saying all this crap and trying to make conservatives look, trying to make the right look this way. But all of that is working. And so there are real young people falling for this crap, just like on the woke left, how that happened. There were bots too. There were paid shills too. And what happened? It took root. It's taking root. It's taking root. And we have to stop that. Like, we have to speak articulately and passionately. And yes, we have to moralize and we have to make the case against it and explain why it's not conservatism and it's not Christianity. And thankfully, a lot of them are starting to admit that they're not conservatives. Like this guy in the video I just showed you admitted that he's not a conservative, that he's a fascist, and that he didn't vote for Trump and he doesn't support Trump and he's against the Constitution. That's another part that he says he's against the Constitution. Let's watch this part.
The bits that you disagree with. Can I just be clear on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm more than willing to amend it and
Whenever it's in your
Okay, so this is where he's talking about he doesn't agree with the Constitution. He doesn't agree with the First Amendment. Just like the woke left, he would get rid of the First Amendment. I mean, so many similarities with the woke left, okay?
the bits that you disagree with. Can I just be clear on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm more than willing to amend it and include
whenever
the
it's in
Second
your
Amendment.
favor.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So can Democrats do the same when they're in office?
No, absolutely not.
So
Because
you don't
it's the
believe in
friend enemy.
democracy?
No, I don't. Absolutely not.
What do you believe in?
Autocracy.
By who?
Honestly, quite frankly, anyone who is in line with Catholic teaching.
Donald Trump is not Catholic.
Of course, he's not. I completely agree.
Look at these idiots in the room. By the way, this guy, again, you're not in line with Catholic teaching, dude. You're not in line with Christ. You're not in line with Christianity. And those moron, they're co-opting the cloak of Christianity, of Catholicism, like many throughout history have done to prey on people. They'll take on any cloak.
So you support Trump? You don't support Trump?
No, I don't. I didn't even vote for him. I wrote in like John Pork or someone. I can't even remember.
Why did you vote if you don't believe in democracy and you want autocracy?
Well, because quite frankly, I voted. I kind of voted just to.
I came with this argument, but I'm bored of my own argument. I'm much more interested in this. So
yeah, absolutely.
How do we get to an autocracy?
I think, quite frankly, that if we are able to enact local leaders,
who is the we, by the way?
I think, quite frankly, these far-right conservatives sitting right around
white
me.
people.
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
So,
well, actually, I have quite.
Some of the people in this room don't make the cut from what I can see visually.
Actually, hold on for a moment. I do think that there are people who happen to.
Let me just pause for a second. This guy, by the way, one of his funny verbal tics is that he says, quite frankly, about 1,000 times. If you watch the whole interview, and I went and I looked, I couldn't. The full interview portion, at least his segment that I had previously posted, has been taken down. That's why I couldn't find it. So I'm glad I found this clip. So this is part of the beginning of what he was saying. Anyway, he's got a verbal tic like a lot of us do. A lot of Valley girls have the verbal tic, the filler words that people use. They have that filler word of like. They say like all the time, like, and it is really hard to listen to that. You just heard mine. I do all the time. I wish I hadn't told you because now you're going to hear it. Now you're going to notice it if you didn't notice it already. I'm trying to get rid of it. I say a lot. This guy's filler word is just hilarious to me because it's so long. It's quite frankly, and he seriously says it not thousands, but he says it maybe 30 times. Well, it's quite frankly.
I think, quite frankly, these far-right conservatives sitting right around
white
me.
people.
Yeah.
No
absolutely.
So,
well,
some
actually,
of you guys,
I have quite
some of the people in this room don't make the cut from what I can see visually.
Actually, hold on for a moment. I do think that there are people who happen to not be white who do actually have history in this country and have roots in this country. For instance, from the Mexican-American War, we subsumed a lot of territory of people who have far stakes in this country who happen to be Hispanic or what have you. I'm for defending the traditional demographics of this country, which is majority white, and should stay that way.
How does the United States... I mean, we've gone so off topic, but how does the United States look like under you? Sorry, what's your name?
My name is, my name's Connor. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Took a little bit of a doubt.
Okay, so that was just one of the clips of this guy, quite frankly. Quite frankly, I'm sure no one in this audience ever noticed, Keri. Are you being sarcastic? Yeah, you guys noticed. You noticed that I say too much. I am trying to root it out. I don't like filler words when I listen to other people, and so I don't want to have them in my own speech. The problem is I don't listen to myself, and so I really only listen to myself if I'm on another show or something and I'm trying to find a clip, and that's when I notice it. I should have somebody telling me, you know, this is what you say all the time. Okay. Randy, this guy's like a man on the street interview. So easy to find an idiotic example who does not represent any real percent of the voting public. Maybe not, but it's still a growing ideology. It's still growing. At what point does it become? At some point, you could have said that about the woke left too. You could have said, let me go find an idiot. Oh, this doesn't represent any. Probably in 2013, 2014, if you'd found me on the street or one of my cohorts who were speaking woke left, oh, this is an idiot on the street, they don't represent the voting public. I mean, that's true, but look how fast things spread, right? Like wildfires. John Thomas for $5. Thank you. Says Sydney Sweeney being the face of American Eagle shows that the world is healing. I don't give a flip what the loser on Jubilee says. He's not Christian or conservative. I agree. He's not Christian or conservative. Sydney Sweeney is that pretty actress, right? I think I know who she is. John Thomas for $5. I disagree it's taking root, but agree that we should condemn it before it does. Keri, there's a small but sizable number of Catholics that do believe like him. Well, yeah, and a lot of them are public and influential. That's the thing. There's a lot of these high-profile, influential podcaster people who've so-called converted to Catholicism lately, and I think a lot of them are full of crap. I think a lot of them are absolutely full of crap, and they're using it like a cloak. Not all of them, but several who have large platforms, yes. And I do think it's okay if we disagree, but I do think it's taking root. I think we're seeing more and more evidence of it, of young people like the Fit and Fresh guests who are just blah, blah, vomiting this stuff out. Young people we don't listen to, the old media died off, and for good reason, because they were lying to us. They were propaganda, and they were pushing woke left ideology on the masses, right? So people started listening to what became popular, alternative media, great new media, right? Podcasts, what have you. Now you've got the alternative media and the new media. A lot of the most influential, largest size audiences are now pushing this crap, or at least hosting repeat guests who are pushing this crap. So why do you think young people are suddenly saying all this dumb woke right stuff? I want to show you a compilation. The guy I mentioned earlier, his name is Nathan Livingstone, Milk Bar TV. Now, I think this is one of the coolest guys on X right now and on YouTube. There's a lot of grifting pieces of crap. There's a lot of people who are willing to say anything, no matter how vile, in order to get clicks, who are willing to say anti-Semitic things, for example, in order to either they're getting paid or because it's good for the algorithm, so they're getting paid indirectly or whatever. This guy is one of the few who is willing to say what I think is the truth, even when it's unpopular, and to face the repercussions for it. He's getting sued by the Tate brothers. He and several other X users who've been doing these compilation videos and showing some of these bad predatory characters who are preying on young people among the right. They're currently, think of them like predators who are roaming, like sharks who are swimming in this ocean of like right-wing stuff right now, and they are preying on young people. And he's one of the ones who's been doing compilation videos, and several of the compilation videos he's done are of Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate's own words, exposing them as predators, talking about having sex with minors, talking about exploiting women and exploiting men and shaking men down for money and all of their life savings and laughing about it, turning men into paupers, laughing about it. Video clips of them abusing women. Like he shows their own videos in their own words. So they've slapped him and several others with a defamation case, and I guarantee you they're going to lose. But in the meantime, with this lawfare, they're going to rack up a lot of legal bills for him. So he and some of the others have a GoFundMe. What do you want to bet they've raised collectively, the ones who are being sued by the Tates, less money than that fascist we just saw from Jubilee who got fired for being an idiot fascist. That idiot fascist has raised more money than them. So I'm going to plug his GoFundMe at the end of this, but let me show you this. This is a compilation video he did. I saw this morning. He said, hey, it's kind of funny. He says, I just don't know where young people are getting all this pro-Hitler stuff from. And he's really good at taking clips and kind of showing you, like, this is what the ecosystem is like right now. This is what people are consuming.
My young adult son's eyes were open to a lot of the lies during COVID, but now I'm hearing things from him that it makes me fear for his discernment. For example, he expressed some anti-Semitic takes on history, that maybe Hitler's motives for wanting to be rid of the Jews weren't so wrong. Do you know some of the names of the influencers who are taking advantage of the conservative youth movement?
So first of all, I do know the names. Get on our feet to welcome to the stage Candace Owens.
The Nazis experimented on innocent people. They experimented on twins. I mean, some of the stories, by the way, sound completely absurd.
So give it up for Dave Smith, everybody.
Yeah, we all know Churchill is the villain. I thought that was common knowledge.
I was in London 2 weeks ago. Like that, they didn't win the war in any meaningful way.
Following World War II, things kind of started falling apart.
It almost couldn't have gone worse.
I'm not going to repeat them because that only makes them and their little irrelevant circle bigger.
So I wanted to invite you onto the podcast.
Hitler was awesome. Hitler was right. And the Holocaust didn't happen.
Jake Shields, who's a friend of mine.
She said something along the lines of, 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. And I was like, oh my God, bro, here we go. I'm just so sick of hearing that, you playing along with something that you just know is bullshit.
Dave Smith, and I like Dave.
Nick's a real talented guy.
Even someone like Daryl Cooper. I talked to Daryl recently. We kind of made amends.
America's most honest and best informed historian, Daryl Cooper.
Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War. He's primarily responsible for that war becoming what it did.
I mean, I really love Europe, truly, as an American. Yeah. But it's so degraded. I'm not even going to say would it actually be worse or not.
It was an existential threat because if Germany won, they would have seized Russia. Who knows what the world will look like today?
Right. It's hard to say. Worse, better. We have no idea to know, right?
Oh, God. He's just very pro-Germany.
Listen to what he's talking about. He was trying to encourage community, encourage, family values, right. Remove the perversion. He wanted to instill morals.
I like Hitler. I do not. The Holocaust is not what happened. Let's look at the facts of that. And Hitler has a lot of redeeming qualities.
I'm not going to repeat them because that only makes them and their little irrelevant circle bigger.
There's something about you and I coming together.
So go follow Milk Bar TV. I told you I would share his, it's not just him. It's several different people who have done these compilations who are being sued. And here, let me just put this up on the screen. They have a give, send, go for all of them. And they're trying to raise 100,000. They've raised 17,900. And this is for several different, it's not just him, it's several different users who are being sued. Okay. Andrew and Tristan Tate are attacking free speech. Andrew and Tristan Tate are attacking free speech and trying to silence online voices. They're suing us for sharing court documents and victim testimony from criminal cases involving allegations of human trafficking, organized crime, and rape, as well as their own public videos and posts where they describe how they recruited and exploited women in the sex industry. We also shared our opinions based on those facts. Now they're using the courts in a way that we believe is meant to intimidate and crush citizen journalism and unmask anonymous accounts so those individuals can be targeted and harassed. The truth is simple. We shared court documents, news reports, victim testimony, their public videos and posts, and opinions based on these facts. We shared the truth. We shared opinions. Now they want to silence us. But this isn't just about us. It's about crushing free speech and taking away everyone's right to speak out or share verified facts. So they go on to talk about what the Tate brothers have been formally charged with, because a lot of people still don't realize that they have been formally charged with human trafficking, trafficking minors, engaging in sex acts with a minor, rape, organized crime, witness tampering, inciting violence, money laundering. There are 42 alleged victims. That's just in Romania. In the UK, they're also part of a criminal investigation involving allegations of human trafficking. Right? These things are facts. And the Tate brothers don't like them speaking these facts, that this is an investigation that's happening in the UK, that these are charges they're facing in Romania. They go on to talk about the investigation in Florida. Anyway, that's I like these guys, so I figured I would just share that with you in case this is something that bothers you as well, that this is happening. So, John Thomas for $10. Thank you. Says, I couldn't find the original Tiki-Taki video of the NEA book, but I just tagged you with a free Beacon article. By the way, my brain always reads that as free bacon. I don't like bacon, so my brain doesn't read it like that. I'm not looking for free bacon or bacon you have to pay for. I wouldn't take it even if it was free. I know that makes me a weirdo, but look, everybody's got their thing, right? I don't like it. T-Swan, no, I disagree. He says these tiny clips that were in that video were taken out of context and that makes them complete nonsense. No, it doesn't. Taken out of context means that you're assuming there's a context that explains what they're saying and changes what they're saying. It doesn't. When he says Churchill's the real villain of World War II, that's what he means. He doesn't say, I'm just joking when I say this, or they didn't cut out him saying somebody else said Churchill's the villain, and they just cut that part deceptively. You know, you can deceptively cut. That's not what's done in those clips. That's not what those clips are shown. There's no context that changes the meaning of what's being said in those clips. You can show it in full context and it doesn't suddenly, oh, they were saying the opposite of what we're showing here. No, they weren't. That's what they were saying. That's what they were saying. John, I select Keri as my partner for breakfast and more bacon for me. Yeah, my husband likes that because he loves bacon. So, Lindsay, I knew it. The bacon people always show up. You bacon people were more relentless than the wokies. I'm kidding. Lindsay, the cynical geek, says bacon's the food of the gods. I deny this heresy. I never, even when I was a kid, couldn't stand it. I don't know what. Some people I think are just born without the bacon gene. I could not. I would smell it cooking. I grew up in South Carolina where bacon was a staple breakfast food. I would smell it cooking and want to vomit. I would feel nauseated. I would have to open the window. I told my dad, please open the windows when you make bacon. It smells so gross. Robert Lowry for $10. That's it. I'm bringing bacon for the house concert. No, you can bring it. Just keep a lid on it. You can bring it. Are you coming? Are you coming to Texas? My husband and I are having another house concert. It's going to be August 9th. And this one's going to be classical piano with an opera singer, a friend of his who's a soprano. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Robert has come to a couple of them. It would be nice to see you again, Robert. Randy Wallen for $5. We're going to lose the midterms. Ugh, yeah, I'm afraid of that too. Trump will be impeached and removed. No more judges, inquiries, or legislation. The woke right will be an afterthought. Yeah, but they will have helped, is what I'm saying. They will have helped. And they're going to keep helping. That's what I think. Wait, did I get all of those? they're part of the same operation. They're part of the same, what's that phrase I like that somebody left me that comment and I just love it, so I use it a lot, but it's like the woke left and the woke right are two sides of the same arse, two cheeks of the same arse. That was the best comment I got about it. I was like, yep, that's what I'm gonna use from now on. It's all the same arse. Good grief is with me. She says, I don't eat pig. Oh, but it smells amazing. No, it doesn't. Gross. Gross. Okay. Now we're hanging out. I'm done. I'm not going to show any more video clips of terrible people. Before I wrap this up, if you have any questions you want to ask, if you disagree, I know I missed some of the chats that were not super chats earlier. I did see some questions or disagreement. If Master Shake is still here, I know you were asking questions. I'm happy to answer some of those. If I can find them, I will. But feel free to. Here's one, Squat and P. Do you think Charlie Kirk is woke right? No, not at all. But I don't think he's being entirely courageous about in that clip where he was telling the mom that, yeah, there are these people out here pushing this anti-Semitic, racist, crazy stuff, you know, and he even got it right that it's a kind of Gnosticism. And he was, you know, at the same time, he won't say who they are. And then he also helps some of them and gives some of them platforms. And I think a lot of that probably has to do with politics. I don't mean Democrat, Republican elected. I don't mean that kind of politics. I mean like interpersonal politics and stuff. I think some of that probably has to do with that. But, you know, just put on your big boy pants and say what needs to be said and denounce what needs to be denounced. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Don't be so caught up in all that stuff. I know how people get caught up in that stuff. We all do, right? But none of that stuff matters. I don't think anybody's going to be on their deathbed regretting speaking the uncomfortable truth. But I think that you might regret being cowardly or being more concerned with temporal, earthly things, or, you know, you might regret that. Do the right thing, which is not always, it's not the easy thing. If you're a Christian and you read scripture, he never said it would be easy. He says the path is narrow. Keri, do you like other smoked meats? Well, yes, Lily. So it's funny, when I was in the woke left cult for like 20 years, coincidentally, maybe not, I was also a pescatarian for 23 years. I didn't eat any meat except for seafood. And I briefly was vegetarian, then I became pescatarian. So I didn't eat, you know, beef or pork or chicken or anything like that. And then I did start eating meat when I moved to Texas. But because I took a friend to what was supposed to be one of the best barbecue joints. This is one over in Lockhart. I think it's Smitty's. I think that was the one we went to. And I was like, while I was there, I realized a lot of my beliefs had been changing about all kinds of things. You know, I had left the woke left for a little bit now. I had moved to Texas. I kind of opened my mind about a lot of things. I became a new Christian. I was sort of like thinking through what do I really think about things? And I sort of was like, why am I a pescatarian? I started thinking through it, all of it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this barbecue. This is supposed to be the best barbecue in Texas, so I'm going to try it. And I tried it and I was like, this is very good. I think I will have more of this. So my reasons for being pescatarian didn't exist anymore. And I love Texas barbecue. I will tell you, if there's anybody in the chat who's from North Carolina or South Carolina. So I'm from South Carolina, but I went to school in North Carolina, and we have barbecue there, but it's different. And it's either mustard based or vinegar based, but it's more like pulled pork kind of barbecue. And this is in Texas is a totally different beast. Texas is all different kinds of barbecue. You got your brisket, you got your ribs, you have your sausages. Like, I mean, it's just a meat feast. And I absolutely, a Texas barbecue's the best, hands down. Yeah, you know what? Michael Collier says pigs are filthy animals. Keri doesn't eat filthy animals. I don't know. I didn't consciously decide that, but I don't like pork. It's not just bacon. I don't like pork chops. I don't like any kind of, I've never liked it. So just, I just came out that way. I don't know why. I do love brisket. I love beef and chicken and all that. John, Keri, did you quit your career or did you get canceled? I quit and I got canceled on the way out because of what I was saying. I quit so that I could say what I wanted to say. I had to quit. I couldn't have kept doing it. If I had kept doing it, I would have had to swallow my beliefs. I would have had to be a liar. I couldn't do it because my career was, and I've done interviews about this. If you want to hear the whole story, go search for the trigonometry interview that I did, or the Zuby one, or actually the Peter Boghossian one. Those three are the best, probably. But the trigonometry one was probably one of the first times I did the whole story of what happened. But I worked in comedy, and I specifically worked in a niche of comedy. Even I worked with a lot of woke comedians. I was known by many people as the feminist manager. I managed a lot of comedians who put woke stuff in their material, and I produced a woke comedy show with some of my comedy clients. One was the host. Several of the others were writers on it. It was called Totally Biased. It was on FX. I really believed in all this stuff. And a lot of the comedy specials I put out with the comedians I worked with were very woke. You know, they would always, the reviews would be, you know, like, this comedy addresses sexism and homophobia and racism. You know, it's very proto woke. Before we even had a word for woke, we called it social justice back then. So when I started leaving woke ideology, which took a while, it was like 2 or 3 year period, the more I started to question this stuff, the more it was like, I can't keep doing this. Right? I mean, how could you? I don't believe in this stuff anymore. So I had to shut down my company and walk away from it. And when I did that, it sort of coincided with writing some essays about my ideology and why I was leaving it, and trying to explain. And Jordan Peterson shared like 3 of my first few essays about it, which meant that a lot of my friends in the woke cult saw that and were pretty pissed. I had a friend come to Texas, try and do an intervention with me, like an ideological intervention. There's a whole story. Go and watch the trigonometry interview if you're interested. But yeah, I had to leave it. I couldn't have continued to do it because almost all of my comedy clients were doing woke comedy, and I had built my whole company around that. And I'd suddenly imagine being so convinced this is the right thing to do, and this is virtuous, and you're helping to end sexism and racism, and this is, you know, and you're making people laugh. And like, I really felt like I was doing something good for so many years. Right. And then when you start to slowly leave that cult of belief and you're like, what? Like, is all of this evil? Is this evil? And then you're like, I can't keep doing this then. Oh man, you know, that's what I meant about back then when you walked away. Like, you really if you know, it costs things back then. It's so funny when people try to call me a grifter or whatever. It's like, dude, you know, I left a really well-paying entertainment career to go and work, you know, gig jobs. It doesn't even compare. But with the gig jobs is this amazing, beautiful freedom to say whatever I want and to be myself. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. There's no way I would go back to that. All that money, the prestige, you know, I did a show with Chris Rock. There's prestige in that, right? There's social credit, all that stuff. People care about it. And I wouldn't go back to any of that if it meant that I had to push evil ideology or be quiet about what I really thought about it, you know, and just get a paycheck. Like, no way. I used to joke, like, I would sell bacon on a street corner. I would sell flowers and beads on a street corner as long as I can say what I think. It's priceless. It's priceless. Praise God. Yes, praise God. Praise God. Did Keri talk about Stephen Colbert being fired? No, not yet. I mean, I talked about it on social media a little bit. I thought it was really funny that I just think it's funny the way they're all acting. Like, apparently they're trying to blame Trump for it and whatever. Nobody's watching that show, and it became unfunny. I had friends who worked on that show, and it was even starting to get really unfunny back then. Oh, you know what? I talked about it a little bit on Isaiah Carter's show. I was on his show recently. If you don't know Isaiah Carter, he has a show called Apostate Radio. And I talked about it a little bit on there because Stephen Colbert, when he first popped onto the scene, he's from South Carolina like I am. And I thought he was so funny and so smart. And when he was first on The Daily Show at the very beginning, if you're young, you won't remember this, but he was doing like a character kind of comedy. He was doing sort of like a Bill O'Reilly. And I thought he was really nailing that kind of character. It was a funny satire of someone like Bill O'Reilly. But then over time, he got away from that character, and it just became, especially by the time he got his own show, it just became like every other woke leftist political comedy show where he's just bashing the right, bashing conservatives, bashing Christians, bashing Trump, whatever. It just became propaganda. It wasn't and he wasn't doing the character anymore either. And it was just sort of like, wow, like you just let ideology become more important than the comedy. And that sucks every time. It sucks every time, no matter what the ideology is. If you put the ideology first and the comedy second, it's never going to be as funny as it could be. Mm. Oh, Randy Wallen for $10. Thank you, Randy, for supporting Deprogram. Randy's like the hype man of Deprogrammed. That's what I'm gonna call you. You're like the hype man. You need a boom box. Randy says, would you consider that woke right are just tools of the left? Yes. Yes, they are. Whether they consciously realize that they are or not. Yeah. And that the left relishes in folks like you spending time going after woke right instead of the left. I don't care what the left relishes. I think the left would relish more that I ignore it and that I don't talk about it at all and let it grow and fester and support the left. But I'm not basing what I talk about based on, I'm going to talk about what I think is dangerous or important. And yes, because they are tools of the left, I'm going to talk about it. It has to be nipped in the bud. Classic revolutionary bank shot. I hope I answered that as best I could. What do you think of Taylor Tomlinson? Now you guys are getting, I don't know who's Taylor Tomlinson. Are these actors? Hold on, let me look this person up. Oh, she's a comedian. I don't even know. I've been out of that world for so long. I know some of the base comics now. My friend Chrissy Mayer, who I think is hilarious and just a beautiful soul. I don't know this comedian. I'd have to check her out. Thank you for suggesting it. She's a comedian, yeah. I feel like I've been out of that world too long to know everybody. Oh, yeah, Jamie, still crazy that Ozzy Osbourne and Hulk Hogan passed away within 2 days apart. I know, we're at that age, right? We're at that age where we're starting to lose our pop culture icons. And Hulk Hogan, man, he had this amazing conversion at the end of his life. And baptism. I don't know if you guys followed that, but praise God. And when he spoke about it, now I know I've been fooled before and people say I'm a bit of a Pollyanna, but Praise God. He seemed very sincere to me. I think, yeah. I feel very good about where God led him and in his life, and also like that kind of shows you can be any age. You can be any age and start a new life. God gives you a new life and a new soul and a new heart. That's what he's offering you. And it's never too late. With all the stuff you've been through or all the mistakes you've made, like, it's not too late. Maybe we could end it on this funny bit, since you mentioned Hulk Hogan. I don't know if you guys remember, but Dolly Parton had a variety show. Actually, she had 2 variety shows. One in the 70s and one in the 80s. And both were called Dolly. Now I'm going to show you a clip from the 80s Dolly. And this is with Dolly Parton and Hulk Hogan. We're going to go out on this because this is just a fun 80s memory. And you young people have no idea. You have no idea. My husband and I were talking recently about how it's so weird to be at this age now where the music from the 80s and 90s is considered like period music. I was talking about a show I had seen. I was like, yeah, part of the show is set in the 90s and they use period music from the time. And we both started laughing like it's period music. It's from that period. It's our music. But, anyway, young people, I know some of you have a nostalgia for the 80s and 90s, even though you didn't live through it. And I get it because I have that nostalgia for like the 40s, 50s, the 30s. I have it for decades I never lived through, where you listen to the music of that time period. The 50s is like probably my favorite decade of music ever. I get it, having a nostalgia for a time you didn't live through. And I just want to say, it's even better than you can imagine. The 80s were so fun. There was a lot of patriotism. There was just fun, silly stuff. People were more united. There was more joy. It was before woke ideology had taken hold, of course. It just was a different time. And I feel like the pop culture, the music and the films and stuff just were more, they had a more sense of a fun. They were iconic. We recently rewatched 16 Candles. And as we're watching, I'm like, it's almost like a period film, like somebody today making a movie about the 80s. Like, he was very self-conscious. He was very aware. He was showing he was showing shots of the locker, like the locks and stuff, things that are very much of the time period, the phones and stuff. It was almost like he knew, I've got to show all these little things that make the 80s so fun and cool. So we're going to watch this right now. John Thomas for $10. Tomlinson is funny, never political, but then CBS gave her a show and hired the same over political fool writers and tanked the show. She used to do Christian church circuit when she was younger, and then she lost her faith. Oh my gosh, that happens to so many people, right? Especially when they get to Hollywood or entertainment, they lose their faith. I will check her out. Thank you. I will. Okay. Now we might get a strike for this, but this clip is so old. I hope we don't get any kind of a strike. I'm going to show this to you on YouTube. This is a comedy bit. So Dolly Parton's variety show is kind of like, I don't know, like the Carol Burnett show or something. She was trying to do like a variety show with music and comedy and sketches. And so this is a sketch she did with Hulk Hogan where they got married. It was a fake marriage, of course. And she wrote a song called Headlock on My Heart. Here we go.
First time that I saw him was in a wrestling magazine. Then I watched him on TV, then I bought a ringside seat. His name was Starlight Starbright, the greatest in the land. He sprinkled stardust in my eyes, I was his biggest fan. He's got a headlock on my heart. It was a takedown from the start. He's a master of the art. He's got a headlock on my heart.
300 pounds of magic right
tonight. Wrestling fans big and small, who's the greatest of them all?
He dazzled them with brilliance. He outshined all the rest. And I love the heart that beat beneath his massive golden chest. In this ring I thee wed.
Do you take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife? I do. And do you take this man to be your lawful wedded husband?
I do. I truly do.
I now pronounce you man and wife.
You may now kiss the bride. Woo! He's got a headlock on my heart that it made like it never before. He knew the ropes right from the start. He's got a headlock on my heart. Well, it's a whole new arena for me. Well, it's a whole new wrestling match for him. I guess you could say he's pinned me down for a lifetime. He's got a headlock on my heart. It was a takedown from the start. He's a master of the art. He's got a headlock on my heart. He's got a headlock on my heart.
That was it. Headlock on My Heart by Dolly Parton. That's like a fantasy sequence, sort of like from a soap opera, how they would have the fantasy sequences sometimes, like a fantasy sequence of what if Dolly Parton and Hulk Hogan got married. That's what it is. That's what it would look like. You see the red, white, and blue balloons coming down at the end. I love her lyrics for that song. It's just so silly. This is a whole new arena for me, she says. And she says, in this ring, I do wed. Yeah, that was cute. It was really cute. Good Grief says, I tried to explain to 20-somethings about how in the 80s, we had this thing called humor and they didn't get it. No, they're so serious. Yeah, wholesome silliness. I just love stuff like that. Remember, there's so much fun, like little clips and things like that from the 80s. But yeah, that was a great Hulk Hogan one. So I thought I would share it because I was watching it yesterday when I heard the news. Not when I heard it, but after I heard the news, I was going to look for that. Well, thank you guys thanks for hanging out today. Hey, thanks for offering me criticism, disagreement, questions, or encouragement if you agree with things but the whole gamut. Thank you. Those of you who were saying stuff that I don't like, stuff that I find very alarming, like I know T-Swan, I kind of called you out earlier. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're willing to be here, and I hope you'll stick around. And yeah, it's really great to be back on the regular schedule. Okay, I'm going to let you guys go. I'll see you on Monday. We'll be doing the live show at our regular time at 2:00, and I might have a special guest in studio. We might do another in studio live one if we can figure out the schedules. I've got a friend visiting. I'm not going to announce it yet because I want to see if it's going to work out, but if so, I'll let you guys know. I'll put something in the community tab. Thank you guys, and have a great weekend. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.